This is the Cotswold Collection, a collection of old VHS videos over the years made by Noel Leader when visiting England from Australia. We think they are nice. They are not brilliant videos. They could have been done better, but they do show what we saw and what we enjoyed. I hope you enjoy them. England in the summertime is quite superb, and there is nowhere in England more beautiful in summer than the villages of the magnificent Cotswolds, with their mellow sandstone facades set in verdant parkland and expansive gardens afire with bright foliage. Absolutely the perfect time for nostalgic visitors from Australia to visit this land of their forefathers.
The highlight of our British summer in 1989 was meeting with our next door neighbours,
In Australia.
Tom and Betty Chappie Wood, in the delightful village of Chipping-Campden.
They were staying in London, but we were staying at Stratford, and we met in the obvious place in the middle, Chipping-Campden.
And as Margie said, right outside the Noel Arms Hotel.
Well, we started off with gumboots and raincoats and umbrellas. It was terrible. Terrible. Get on the way. You're on camera.
Oh no, he's got the camera.
Well, we can't go past there, can we?
And there it is, the Noel Arms Hotel.
Oh yes.
Yes, it was. It was lovely in Spain too. Just the right time. Winter can be wet and then warmed up. And of course, in summertime, it's just
Yes, that's right. I think Turkey will too. Oh, man. Hear about that.
Well, let's sit down over a glass of
Let's go and have a hot
I bought mine or something. Still on camera.
I bought a mixture of things. Oh, but getting away was terrible, wasn't it?
Michael was built in 1627 by Sir Baskerville, later Baron Hicks of Illington and Viscount Compton. The sale of local produce, the address of Baskerville Hicks, and the date of erection and carved on the outside wall. So Guinness and some cider.
Right.
Wonderful.
Yes, we had two young couples who were able to stay with us for 2 nights. One of the couples was from Edinburgh College in Paramount. We had the fortnight in Italy. And then they came back and they arrived 2 hours after we'd installed ourselves.
Oh, you do. So you did travel, didn't you? Very. Because I remember you saying what you were taking. But mind you, we keep buying things. Yes. And the ladies there used to come to bought a suit.
Well, that's Porton Guinness.
Just stand on your head, that's lovely. I think she gets a bit.
Just look at those chimneys. '32 was when this horse watering pump was built. Another delightful view of those superb chimneys.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
And again. Very imposing spire. Parish Church of St James, Chippingcampton. Quite a handsome couple. This monument is erected to preserve the memory and portrait of the Right Honourable Edward Noel, Viscount Campden, Baron Noel of Ridlington and Hicks of Ilmington, a lord. Smart fella. And this is the Lady Ibliana, eldest daughter and co-heir of that mirror of his times, St Baptist Hicks, Viscount Campden. She was married to that noble lord who is here engraved alongside her. Beautiful stained glass windows. And this is on the floor stone. Obviously a grave. Didn't quite work out whose it was. Another one. Quite an imposing church. And look at that, solid bronze. Chippingcampton Cape, English, about 1360 to 1440. This vestment has recently been restored in conservation of the Victoria and Albert Museum. The work depicting the Virgin and Child was formerly concealed in something or other and was discovered in the course of restoration. This is the only surviving English cape from the period around 1400. Sadly, it wasn't here to see, it was away being restored again. The garden surrounding the church was really something to see.
No, still can't tell you. There's a bigger one of it.
Oh no, don't say that. You're like, you've got a lovely garden. You've got so much to go. I'm so oh yes, I couldn't believe that I was moving with one.
the Avon on a warm summer's morning. We saw Ben Jonson's The Silent Woman and also Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. They were wonderful. In fact, so thrilled were we to actually see these in Stratford that we photographed our tickets. Outside the Swan Theatre, children were dressing up in Shakespearean costumes and being photographed by their proud mother. On the river, the tourists continue to enjoy the best English summer for 80 years. On shore, the Dirty Duck serves a good Flowers ale. But now, let's wander up Sheep Street for a look at the town of Stratford itself. Truly delightful. And now a flower-bedecked building dating back to 1485. Wonderfully restored plaster and timber facades make this a truly spectacular city. On this site stood New Place, the larger residence which William Shakespeare bought for £60 in 1597. After his busy working life in London, the poet retired to New Place and died here in 1616. The house was demolished in 1759 and the foundations are preserved in this garden setting. Beyond is a replica of an Elizabethan knot garden. And here it is, Shakespeare's birthplace. To the living memory of William Shakespeare, this foundation stone for the Shakespeare Centre was laid on the 18th of June 1962 by Her Royal Highness Princess Alexandra of Kent. And this is the delightful cottage garden at the rear of the house. Back to the front of the house and down the street to the Stratford town centre. It's quite a compact town really, but central to everything in Stratford-on-Avon is Shakespeare. His statue dominates Shakespeare Park, near the Avon and alongside the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre, and paying homage at his feet some of the immortal characters and phrases he created. The immortal Lady Macbeth, a brooding Hamlet, a noble Prince Hal, a quizzical Falstaff, and the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre right behind. Consideration like an angel came and whipped the offending Adam out of him. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. I am not only witty in myself, but the cause that wit is in other men. This lock provides access for the longboats from the River Avon to the Avon-Birmingham Canal. Here a longboat leaves the River Avon to be lifted up to the holding pond for the canal. The lock gates from the river are firmly closed behind him as water comes in from the holding pond to lift his boat up to the canal level. once he goes through those gates. Open top gate. And through he goes into the holding pond for the Avon-Birmingham Canal, already 2 metres above the Avon River level. Now, under the main Oxford Road and into the Avon-Birmingham Canal. Another boat had gone through just before him. A beautiful spot. One of the joys of our 3-week stay in Stratford-on-Avon was that we did in fact have one of those townhouses right onto the canal, just where the boats are. A perfect spot to visit the Shakespeare Theatre, only 300 metres away, and really become part of the town. A quite magical time. Of course, the Avon alongside our townhouse had many other delightful residents, apart from the longboats. The ducks would regularly bring their brood along to our front lawn for Marjorie to feed them. What superb seclusion, only 300 metres from the centre of Stratford. Peace and serenity, but a stone's throw away the canal again passes under the busy Oxford Road. Meanwhile, at the holding pond, more boats prepare to leave the Avon and join the Avon-Birmingham Canal. All boat owners need a separate licence for the canal, of course. On the left is getting its instructions to move across the pond and under the first Oxford Road bridge to go in front of our townhouse beyond. At our townhouse, all was peace and quiet, and the ducks were gathering for a meal. There wasn't a lot of traffic on the Oxford Road, but the peace and quiet was soon to be shattered as the boat traffic was about to build up on the canal. The one on the left is heading for Birmingham. The other one has just come down heading for Stratford. The tunnel under the road bridge and the climbing locks beyond heading toward Birmingham only have room for one boat at a time, and the boats coming downhill from Birmingham always have right of way. So there is the boat coming from Stratford, about to move under the bridge now and head towards Birmingham. I'm standing on the lawn just outside the townhouse, and of course there are still some hungry ducks, wondering why I'm not bothering to feed them, looking quite puzzled. The ducks are still optimistic. They think there's got to be a little more food there somewhere. But I think we might follow the longboat if it heads up through the locks towards Birmingham. And he's now about to enter the first rising lock. The first boat is in the lock above, and has been joined by a second boat from the Stratford Pond, waiting its turn to do the first lift up towards Birmingham. There appear to be no more boats coming from the Stratford Pond under the first Oxford Road Bridge, so those boats going upstream toward Birmingham will probably get a fairly unobstructed run, unless they meet some traffic coming down the canal towards Stratford. It's quite a wait until the first boat clears the lock ahead. But from the other side of the Oxford Road Bridge, all seems to be going just fine. The two boats are in different locks and all set to go. The first boat is now one lock higher and all ready to move out. The lock gate must be closed behind him, and it requires quite a bit of physical work to do it. And bearing in mind that there are 15 locks between Stratford and Birmingham, it's quite hard work really. And now the sluice gate must be lifted on the back gate of the lock to allow this following boat to come into a lowered water level in this lock. This is the first lock beyond the second Oxford Road Bridge, and the level must be lowered to the same level as the Avon holding pond at Stratford. From now on it's uphill all the way to Birmingham and lots of work on the lock gates, but occasional smooth sailing in between. It's very picturesque Shakespeare Country. The boat is gradually rising as the water flows in, but it is certainly slow. It's certainly not meant for the person in a hurry. So far we've come maybe 300 metres and lifted maybe 30 metres from our townhouse. But better times are ahead. We are now about to escape the last lock and head into a smooth 2 kilometre long stretch of waterway before the next one. Now it's smooth sailing all the way. That is, until the next lock. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, nothing had changed. The ducks were still scrounging for feed and winning. After 3 wonderful weeks living right in Stratford, in the middle of Shakespeare Country, we were really sad to leave the River Avon and its wonderful sights. There's the Swan-of-Avon, very old boat, touring on the river. Along its banks, modern home and traditional. This is not traditional. Maybe it's a changing world, but it is still the Avon and beautiful beyond belief. On the far bank, a delightful scene of Canada geese and black-faced lambs. That Avon water must be really good. A truly idyllic scene along the River Avon. A little less wary, the Canada geese came much closer. The boats are coming home and we should go too and embark on our further journeys around England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. Stratford was absolutely wonderful. We hope you enjoyed it and we'll see the other ones later too. Right in the middle of England is beautiful rolling countryside of lush meadows and gentle streams, dotted with mellowed sandstone villages and magnificent old country houses under the control and protection of the National Trust. We are now about to see one of these, and later we'll see others. Built from a mellowed local stone, Upton House at Banbury in Oxfordshire dates from 1695 and has the most superb gardens, including terraces, herbaceous borders, fruit, vegetable and water gardens, lakes and woodland walks. We're going to have a look at some of these, and as you'll see, they were truly wonderful. First, a stroll down to the lake. And through beds of flowers and vegetables for the house. They do look good. And the flower garden is equally outstanding. Bees are busy pollinating, and butterflies doing whatever they do too. And so it all goes on. One bee goes, but another one comes back to take up the running. And who's that at the foot of the garden, reading while she waits for me to photograph the bees and the flowers? He's a really busy bee. I've run out of bees at last, and Marjorie looks really delighted. So now, how about a stroll around the lake? How about a spot of fishing? Look edible to me. That one too. He's really tempting me now. What an idyllic spot. Fresh flowers, vegetables and fish at the table too. Maybe I don't even need a line to catch him. Now, away from the lake and through a magnificent walled orchard with fully grown trees in beautiful rows, well protected by huge trees beyond the wall, and up towards the house on the hill above. A really delightful rose garden. And then the staircase to the house itself. A quick look back at the lake, and beyond the lawn is magnificent Upton House itself. This seemed to be something of a concession to the present. But who am I to complain? A grand old home with flower-bedecked terraces, and in front of the terrace, a wonderful lawn leading away to the pool, the garden, the lake beyond, and meadows the other side of the stream. A truly delightful place. Back through the woods to the front gate. To the gate at the end of the long drive. And sadly, it's farewell to Upton House. And hello, Compton Wynyate's house. A magnificent privately owned country home, unfortunately not on the National Trust, and therefore we could not visit it. But driving through quaint old Cotswold villages, there were really wonderful sights to see. Beautiful mellowed yellow sandstone cottages with thatched roofs and dormer windows. And on top of that thatched roof, a thatched cat chases a thatched bird. And all of this is set in the most idyllic countryside. Now, with Gillian in the nearby village of Mickleton, we visit the Bell Inn. The ideal place for a ploughman's lunch and a whitbread. Out in the garden.
I can tell Betty. It's the three ways hotel, and we're not far from Shakespeare Country.
A lovely summer's day it was too.
Yes, lovely room with a bar.
And now to the delightful nearby village of Snows Hill. A truly beautiful place. Now mostly restored as a weekend escape for wealthy Londoners, the village was originally a true working village. So perfect it almost seems frozen in time, but the flowers are real, growing, and it is wonderful to see such a magnificently preserved village. And on a perfect summer's day, a stroll through the village is sheer magic. Just look at that thatched roof and the wonderful chimneys. A letdown to find the cottage is now a service station, and petrol almost 90 cents a litre, nearly $2 Australian. So let's forget the cost of petrol and concentrate on the beautiful Cotswold countryside and look at more of this beautiful village of Snows Hill. A truly delightful place with flowers everywhere. Long time, I suspect, since that clock last worked. And just across the road, wonderful wall. Of loose packed stone with magnificent large boulders set in at intervals. Quite outstanding. More wonderful views of the village. Through narrow streets and beautifully tended gardens. And the gentle Cotswold countryside beyond. Superb roses, fronting fine homes, dearly named to conjure visions from the past. Another ideally named cottage. A grand old home, the modern garbage containers distract a little, but nothing could spoil that superb view of the soft Cotswolds countryside. A public footpath.
All keen to go down the footpath. You want to do it. No, I had a video of them.
Looking back, the houses of the village of Snows Hill ideally tuck themselves in amongst the foliage on the hillside.
Can you imagine what it's like here in the winter? It just gets snowed in. Like,
Back into the village. Back at the old church, we tried to trace village history through the gravestones. Some dated back to the 13th century. But let's have a look inside the church too. Inside, the church had been superbly maintained and featured some really beautiful stained glass windows. Just look at the rose windows there. The other windows were equally splendid. But let's now visit the Snows Hill Arms. And as they say there, they offer you Donington ales. Now, farewell to Snows Hill. Meanwhile, back at Stratford, the longboat was still coming down the Avon Canal past our townhouse. Coming the other way. He's past Cromwell and heading our way, and underneath Birmingham Road Bridge into the first lock of the canal from Stratford to Birmingham. And so another wonderful day in Shakespeare Country came to an end. And the sun sets over the Avon beyond the Birmingham Road Bridge.